This page is the front cover, proudly displaying N64 Pro front and center. We've got Flick from A Bug's Life looking rather excited, billed as the most buzzing game on the planet, and a world exclusive, apparently jumping onto N64 near you. Also featured is a TIE fighter, hinting at a new Star Wars game, described as brand new game. The cover also mentions Michael Owen's World League Soccer with brand new screenshots, and a competition to win official WCW bashing brawler wrestling figures. Under the headline, Played to Death, we're promised coverage on Mystical Ninja 2, All-Star Baseball 2000, Twisted Edge Snowboarding, Triple Play Baseball, and California Speed. And who could miss the cheeky bug, encouraging you to buy the mag because it's a bargain. Looks like a packed issue. This page lays out exactly how you can get your hands on all those essential cheats and tips, plus introduces the magazine team. First up, there's a phone line offering codes for over 750 N64, PlayStation, and PC games. Pretty much everything you could think of back then, from the big Nintendo hitters like Mario Kart and Zelda to PC classics. Below that, they're launching a new faxback service for their first issue of Fax Cheats and Tips. Just dial a national rate number, and get pages of info sent straight to your fax machine if you've got one. Over on the right, our little Bug's Life friend from the cover is still causing trouble, claiming he's infected one of the team with chickenpox and plans to take over the mag. Speaking of the team, we get introductions to the motley crew behind the scenes, hilariously describing their various, and quite frankly disturbing, ailments and quirks, from one bloke who went blind after sneezing in an ashtray, to another who had a pen superglued to his forehead. Finally, the magazine sets out its stall with the 8 commandments, promising readers everything from honest reviews and being bang up to date, to scouring the galaxy for every single cheat. It sounds like they were taking their commitment to gaming very seriously, even if their health was questionable. This N64 magazine issue features a massive Pro logo and issue number. Highlights include a prize-fighting section, a Wipeout 64 guide, and a 148-page South Park cheat guide. Regular sections cover news, game galleries, upcoming releases, leagues, reader feedback, back issues, and mini-reviews. There are 24 game reviews, including Mystical Ninja 2, All-Star Baseball 2000, and California Speed. A blueprint section details games like Star Wars Racer and Superman. The cover story focuses on A Bug's Life, Wrecker. This page gives us the full lowdown on the A Bug's Life cover story promised earlier. It's front and center, featuring Flick looking chipper and Hopper looking like Woizabru. Well, a grasshopper git. The headline screams, "You ain't seen nothing yet," which is a cracking pun, you've got to admit. Newshound Scoop the dog has apparently had a bit of a nightmare covering it, having to stick his nose into anthills and all that. Poor sod. Elsewhere, we've got quick hits on some other stuff in the mag, a look at Glover's 2D outing, some sort of Tipex guide to finishing every N64 game, good luck with that, and a blueprint on Star Wars Racer, pondering if it's got the chops to finally knock Zelda off its perch. The chart section is here too, giving us the pulse of the UK market and what's getting the most playtime or hype, with A Bug's Life predictably topping the most wanted list. And for a bit of car-chasing fun, there's a preview of Grand Theft Auto. Sounds like it's coming to N64, which is mint, focusing on legging it from the coppers. Good times. Finally, a couple of chances to win some swag, A Bug's Life kits and games, and a voucher for predicting the chart. Get in. This page kicks off with the news, featuring none other than Michael Owen, apparently looking rather dashing even in 64 form. Scoop's been busy sniffing out the details on some football action here. It seems there's a bit about Michael Owen's soccer shots, whatever those turn out to be. And look, there's a mention of a competition tied into predicting the charts, picking up from last page's tease. Front and center we've got the big feature, Darth's Deadly Racing. This ties into the blueprint from the previous page on Star Wars Racer. And crikey, it sounds absolutely bonkers. Pod racing, like the film, apparently combining Wipeout pace with F-Zero chows, all on utterly mental tracks. They reckon it's gonna knock your socks off with speed and spectacle. Expected in July, so not too long to wait. Over on the right there's Hydro Thunder. Looks like arcade-style boat racing with loads of courses, some sounding pretty wild, from frozen wastes to spooky shipyards. Should be a good splashy laugh. Busaway. They also flag up the reviewed section on page 44, and the cheat zone on 68. And down the bottom there's a corker of a competition to win a proper RC Racer and Penny Racers games. You just need to answer a couple of questions, the first one being on this very page. Get stuck in if you fancy a crack at some free swag. This page is all about Vigilante 8, and look at that logo, Proper retro comic book style with those flames. Blimey, if the game is half as explosive as this artwork, we're in for a treat. It's flaunting 4-player auto combat, which sounds like absolute chow's the best kind, naturally. You've got these souped UP cars, absolutely plastered with weapons, flying through the air, launching rockets, and generally making a right mess of things. There's a flashy silver car, looking a bit battered but still firing rockets, a cool blue one with missiles on the roof, and a green truck that looks like it's just plowed through a building. Glorious. And down the bottom there are a few small screenshots, showing off what looks like various dusty sun-drenched arenas where all this vehicular mayhem takes place. Seems like it's bringing the old-school car combat vibe back with a bang. You can see Activision and Luxoflux are behind it, and it's clearly destined for the N64, as that familiar logo is right there. Looks like a good laugh, this one, perfect for getting your mates round and blowing each other up. This issue features a mix of gaming content. Looking for trouble? Previews wrestling games like Ready to Rumble and WWF Attitude. Standard N64 Pro reviews cover All-Star Baseball 2000, Wipeout, and a Superman game. The central focus is the N64 Pro Crew's terrifying experience on Alton Towers' fearsome 5 rides, documented with photos. This leads to a £500 Alton Towers ticket giveaway. Additional competitions include a WCW Bashing Brawler toy giveaway, and a Turok 2 handheld game prize. This page kicks off with the return of our caped crusader in I Believe I Can Fly, looking at that Superman game again. Seems like the chaps here are trying to get a handle on his flying abilities, which they reckon is the quickest way to commute. They touch on his powers, and the 16 missions you'll be tackling Lex Luthor in, which sounds like a decent chunk of playtime. Down below, it's time for some winter fun, with Snow Good Moaning, previewing a snowmobile game that's likely Polaris Snowcross 2000. Apparently you might even dodge Diddy Kong and Mario, which is a bit of a head-scratcher but sounds chow tech. Get ready for racing across bumpy tracks with extra vehicles to unlock. Then there's Bust You Up, getting excited for Buster Move 99. The big news here is the 4-player mode. Imagine the chows of 4 people jigging and wriggling to get those bubbles cleared. They're also mentioning new characters and an arcade mode, keeping the puzzle action fresh. There's a competition tucked away to find Scoop the Space Dog somewhere in the magazine for a chance to win some games. The rest of the page is pretty much dedicated to the gameplay mail order catalog, listing consoles, stacks of games, and accessories like controllers, memory cards, and even a steering wheel, all ready to be shipped straight to your door. This page gives us a proper introduction to Scoop, the magazine's resident canine art critic and apparently life drawing enthusiast, who's been dragged away from his very busy schedule to show us some previews. Looks like we found him after that competition on the previous page then. Veclori. First up in his gallery is another look at the Superman game we saw last page. They're still trying to get a handle on his exploits, highlighting his powers and suggesting a decent number of missions to get stuck into. Next we've got Mario Golf, which is exactly what it says on the tin. Mario hitting the links in his usual style. Good to see he's stuck with the classic dungarees. Borough. Then there's Shadowgate 64, described as a first-person RPG, delving into dungeons. The screenshots look suitably atmospheric, hinting at exploration, and perhaps a bit of puzzle solving, promising some muck and stench along the way. We also see army men, Sarge's heroes, showing off the plastic soldiers getting stuck into some action. The text gives it a proper military feel, telling us to feast our eyes on the classified pics. Finally, it's Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest, looking like a solid baseball game. They reckon it's a hard-hitting sim that looks like a real diamond. Seems like Scoop's got a mixed bag of previews for us this month. This page gets straight down to business with the absolutely vital release schedule, showing us everything expected out in 1999 and even some bits for to be announced. It's a massive list of games, month by month, telling you who's making them and roughly when they're due. Looks like we'll be busy and broke all year. Below that, we've got the must-buys, telling us what we should already have in our mitts. They highlight Beetle Adventure Racing, promising top racing action where you can trash a new VW, and Monaco Grand Prix, calling it a welcome alternative for F1 fans. Over on the right it's forthcoming attractions, giving us a closer look at some big hitters. Gorimon's Great Adventure is up first, looking like a colourful romp. Then there's Rayman 2, promising the return of the legless and armless wonder. 12 Tales. Conker 64 gets a mention, with them keen to see the Nutchomper in action. Finally, it's the mighty Donkey Kong 64, hyped as the biggest jumping game of the year from the Banjo creators. And down the bottom, we find out what's bubbling under, featuring World Driver Championship, described as the N64's answer to Gran Turismo with promise of top-notch graphics and realistic physics. Looks like plenty to look forward to then. This page dives into the nitty-gritty with the software house leagues, showing us which publishers are absolutely smashing it on the N64 based on the reviews. It's like a proper football league, but with developers instead of teams, ranked by points earned from their game releases. Nintendo, bless 'em, are miles ahead in the Premier League, showing everyone else how it's done, while the rest scrap it out below. Down in Division 1, you've got another batch of hopefuls trying to make their mark. The Hall of Fame section points out who's been climbing or falling, noting how Electronic Arts are having a cracking time with their racing games, and Activision's making a push thanks to Vigilante 8, apparently driven by a rather menacing chap. There's also a look at the Reader Dream Team, where a chap named Daniel Airy has picked his ultimate lineup using characters from games, which is a neat idea. And speaking of stars, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time gets its own feature as the absolute star player, still dominating the chat and mailbag. We get a good look at some of the game's scoring points too, with shots from classics like Smash Bros, Mario Party, Castlevania, and the aforementioned Vigilante 8 and Beetle Adventure Racing. It's a proper snapshot of who's doing what right now. This page previews upcoming game reviews, highlighting Mystical Ninja 2, starring Goemon, P24, Twisted Edge Snowboarding, P38, All-Star Baseball 2000, P32, California Speed, P44, and Triple Play Baseball, P58. Reviewer perspectives are summarized. Steve missed the baseball games due to chickenpox. Noelle focused on Harvest Moon. Mark enjoyed Goemon but found California Speed disappointing. Paul preferred Rounders. Lewis liked All-Star Baseball but disliked Twisted Edge, and California Speed's pot-roasted skunk flavor. And James enjoyed Twisted Edge but not Mystical Ninja. The review system details a rating scale: 90 plus must buy, 80 plus decent, below 50 questionable, and awards like the Sore Thumb Award. Reviews will include reasons for enjoyment/disappointment, graphics/sound/gameplay breakdowns, suggestions for similar games, and reader comments. The league points system is also referenced. This page kicks off the review for Mystical Ninja 2, starring Goemon, a game that's as Japanese as you like, proper bonkers stuff. The page is dominated by a massive title and colorful artwork of Goemon and the gang. You've got Goemon himself, Ebisumaru the tubby bloke, Yae the kunoichi, and Sasuke the robot ninja, plus a load of other weird and wonderful characters from the series. There are even some rather cheeky speech bubbles tossed in, adding to the game's daft sense of humor. The text introduces the game, calling it a raw fish sani of a title. Sounds about right for Goemon. It warns you might be easily disturbed and tells you everyone's favorite, blue-rinsed, spiky-haired nutter is back, and this time, he's brought a pal. It sets the stage for the review, hinting at the game's chow-tekik, distinctive style. You can see a couple of small screenshots showing some of the in-game action, including a skeleton and a giant face, just to give you a taste of the madness. As we heard on the last page, this is one of those games that people either love or find a bit much, so let's see what the full review makes of it. This page continues the deep dive into Mystical Ninja 2, introducing you to the main crew that makes up this wonderfully bizarre game. You've got the profiles of Goemon, Yae, Ebisumaru, and Sasuke, each with their own unique style and abilities, looking every bit as eccentric as the series is known for. There's a handy little guide to the N64 controller, showing you which buttons handle attacks, jumps, and special moves. Pretty standard stuff, but good to know. The review text praises the game's unique, all-round bonkers nature, noting the return to 2D platforming after the previous 3D effort, which they reckon fits the game's style better, even if the controls aren't quite Mario-level polished. Screenshots give you a glimpse of the action, from platforming challenges using rolling rocks, clever stuff, to underwater sections. The captions are full of the game's trademark humor, like the one about wearing socks with sandals. There's also a little tip XTRA, urging you not to be tight with your coins, splash out on those upgrades and missiles. It's a proper, unashamedly daft experience by the sounds of it. This page carries on with the bonkers world of Mystical Ninja 2, giving us a closer look at what the game actually involves. It's still the Goemon we know and love, though apparently he's gone on a diet and is a bit leaner than in his 3D outing. The review highlights the mix of frantic platform action with RPG elements, like exploring towns, doing quests, and stocking up on items, a bit of a slowdown compared to the fast bits, but a nice break apparently. Screenshots show off some rather peculiar sights, like a building labeled Parasma, classic, and an ape-like chap telling fortunes. The review text leans into the sheer absurdity of it all, asking where else you'd fight a mech that blows kisses, or consult a monkey fortune teller. It's completely nuts, but in a good way, like something out of Discworld. They mention the cooperative mode is a welcome addition, making the fiddly bits much better with a mate. You can switch between characters like Goemon, Yaoi, Ebisumaru, and Sasuke, each having their own special skills needed for different puzzles, which sounds like a proper tag team effort. There's even a little tip, XTRA, telling you to keep your pockets jingling by visiting towns regularly. It all adds up to a wonderfully weird, but clearly enjoyable, experience. This page wraps up the review of Ninja 2, which as we saw last time is the utterly bonkers mystical Ninja 2. It clocks in with a cracking 88%. The summary here highlights that ditching the 3D of the first game for a return to 2D was actually a brilliant move for gameplay, especially with the superb two-player co-op mode, which they rightly call a huge leap forward for playability. The breakdown gives solid scores across the board, 8/10 for graphics, sound, even if it's annoyingly catchy, and lastability. But the gameplay gets a fantastic 9/10, calling it the finest and oddest platform action money can buy. It might have its dull moments, but the sheer weirdness and fun shine through according to the reviewers, including quotes praising the absolute lunacy and the brilliant two-player mode. The screenshots show off some of the bizarre boss encounters and those classic game over screens with the dancing chaps, reinforcing just how delightfully odd this game is. Below the review, you've got the usual game details like price and player count. Ranger, and then there's a section all about the eCube 99 show in Los Angeles, highlighting it as the place to be for the interactive entertainment industry in May of that year, listing dates and ways to get more information or register. This page dives straight into a review of All-Star Baseball 2000, and right from the off, the headline shouts that this is pure Homer heaven with not a doe to be heard. By James, apparently. The blurb tells us whether you're a quiet chap from London or a flashy swinger from San Fran, this game's got you covered for knocking it out of the park all night. It even bagged a Sore Thumb Award winner badge, which is always a good sign of a game you just can't put down. There's a bit of banter with a speech bubble, asking if you think this is a game for girls, clearly setting a playful, challenging tone. You get a handy diagram, showing the N64 controller, with explanations for hitting, pitching, fielding and directing players, which is useful. The screenshots back up the excitement, showing gameplay views and quoting commentary about massive hits, suggesting this game delivers on the promise of those big, satisfying swings. Looks like a solid baseball sim for the N64. This All-Star Baseball 2000 review details extensive character customization options, from physical attributes to appearance. Visuals are praised as exceptionally high quality, comparable to Gran Turismo's graphics. A helpful tip section guides players on aiming and influencing ball trajectory. Gameplay sequences showcase exciting moments, including a dramatic catch and a humorous pitching incident. The review concludes that the game is a visually impressive baseball simulation with a good sense of humor. This page wraps up the All-Star Baseball 2000 review, and blimey, it's pulled in a cracking 91% score. Right then, let's see why James reckons this is the best baseball game going, saying baseball fans aren't exactly 10 a penny over here, but this game deserves the playtime. Pindoku. The breakdown gives it high marks across the board. Graphics get a 9/10, sound a decent 6/10. Maybe leave the American anthem then. Gameplay scores an 8/10 for being perfect but challenging. And lastability nails a 9/10. You'll be worn out before the game is, apparently. There's a little why not try box suggesting Nintendo's Ken Griffey Baseball is a good arcade alternative if this one's a bit too real. And the other views section has a few more chaps and chapettes weighing in, like Lewis calling it a huge hacking up spit and polish, and Mark declaring it damn near perfect. Even a reader from Bromley chipped in, saying it looks brill. You've got a helpful tip, XTRA, suggesting bunting if the bases are loaded, which is a neat tactic. Plus, they show off some of the standing room only stadiums, like Baltimore, Chicago's Comiskey, Boston's Fenway, Cleveland's Jacobs Field, Kansas City's Kaufman, and the huge Skydome in Toronto. And just look at those screenshots, showing plays like runners, trying to steal bases. Looks proper exciting. As they say, your fingers will be dancing over the joypad like a whirling dervish. What a game! This page dives straight into the chilly slopes, with a review of Twisted Edge snowboarding. And blimey, the massive headline Twisted Edge snowboarding is slapped right across the middle, paired with a quote calling it a slack-assed, numb-toed, icicle-crusted frostfest. Right away you get the feeling this isn't going to be another high scorer, like that cracking baseball game from the last page, eh? Rail. The page is full of character, literally, with a fun cartoon showing the team and their quirky names. Sounds like a right laugh, even if the game isn't. There are several small screenshots showing the action, or perhaps lack thereof, with captions pointing out things like the two-player mode being not a patch on 1080 degrees S, and the scenery being a bit drab. One caption even reckons doing stunts on a bridge is just plain stupid. The main text reinforces the idea that the game might be a bit of a letdown, talking about the graphics not quite living up to 1080 degrees standards and borders looking a bit too skinny in their gear. There's even a little box suggesting a broken neck is more likely than a close race. Looks like this one won't be keeping us glued to the screen like some other Nintendo 64 classics. They even show you the controller setup, handy if you decide to brave the slopes yourself, but based on this review, maybe stick to something else. A review of Twisted Edge Snowboarding for the N64 highlights its somewhat underwhelming graphics but amusing captions and character descriptions. The Tip XTRA section aids trick execution, while the stunt mode is praised despite its perceived annoyances. Controls are described as kitten soft, and the game's timer and promised speed boosts are criticized. Characters are vividly portrayed with quirky descriptions, and a glossary of snowboarding terms, boned, bonk, etc., is included. The overall impression is of a game with personality but potentially flawed gameplay. This page continues the review of Twisted Edge Snowboarding, and well, the big number right there says it all, 60%. Ouch. Compared directly to Nintendo's masterpiece 1080 degrees Snowboarding, the reviewer feels Twisted Edge is late to the party, and just doesn't stack up. The graphics are deemed okay but not a patch on 1080 degrees, and the sound, especially that helium-sucking commentary, gets a rather poor score. Gameplay is described as slow and lacking tension, and while the trick mode offers some saving grace, it won't hold your attention forever. The Why section reiterates that it missed the boat, looking more like a PlayStation game than an N64 title next to 1080 degrees brilliance. The Why Not Try section, perhaps unsurprisingly, suggests just playing 1080 degrees instead, for its amazing jumps and style. There's a Tip XTRA section detailing a bunch of tricks and button combos, which is handy if you're trying to pull off some moves. Down at the bottom, the Cupid Stunts section talks about the stunt mode, showing screenshots of folks in the air trying to get those points, though the captions suggest it can be a bit frustrating. Finally, the Other Views section rounds up a few opinions from other people, like Lewis, Mark, James, and a reader from Derby, mostly confirming the overall sentiment that it falls short when compared to the reigning champion, 1080 degrees snowboarding. It seems like a decent enough attempt, but definitely overshadowed. This page reveals the winner of the Worst N64 Racing Game Ever award, and apparently, it's California Speed. Reviewer Mark kicks things off by thanking his mother, God, and sweet baby Jesus for inventing the off switch, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know right away. There's a look at the controls, but the review suggests you barely need to use anything other than the accelerator to win, and the brake is apparently redundant. The game's vehicles are hilariously dubbed shopping trolleys, featuring gems like the golf cart and the sled, described with zero enthusiasm whatsoever. The main review text absolutely slams the game, calling it plain old pugly, and living up to its worst racer ever title. Its movement is mockingly compared to a crippled arthritic tortoise with a clubfoot. Even the California locations, which should be interesting, are described as bland and worse than Parappa the Rapper's scenery. We get a look at the San Francisco track through several screenshots, but the captions continue the sarcastic tone, highlighting things like driving through traffic, and the overall lack of excitement. The Screamin' USA section adds to the misery, describing the game as less animated than a morgue, and criticizing the music and car designs. Don't get too comfortable though, as this painful review continues on page 56. This page splits its focus. On the left we've got an advert for what looks like the ultimate in gaming luxury, an inflatable chair called the Game Throne. It's £24.99 and promises to sort out all your gaming posture woes. The image of a gorilla chilling on it is, well, it's a look, isn't it? Apparently, even gibbons can't resist its tender charms. Right then, there's also an order form if you're tempted by this giant wine gum of comfort. Over on the right, things get serious with a guide to Wipeout 64. After the pain of California Speed, this is the real racing action we know and love on the N64. It's billed as a blagger's guide, implying some cheeky tips and tricks to get ahead. We see some classic Wipeout visuals, the sleek ship, the futuristic tracks depicted in the screenshots showing lap times and position, and even a little green alien giving it the big one about owning the road and the sky. Looks like they've sorted Wipeout, and are off for a cosmic natter. Proper good stuff after that last review. This page dives headfirst into the Wipeout 64 guide we were promised, and thank goodness for that after the previous page's chair situation. This spread is pure futuristic chows. You've got sleek ships, blazing speed lines, and a big red beast of a ship dominating the foreground. Plus, that little green bloke from the previous page is back, perched cheekily on a craft, looking smug, and ready to dish out the tips. The text makes it clear, this isn't just a gentle stroll through the game, it's about mastering the ferocious world of Wipeout. It talks about the difference between being a slick racer and, well, a complete disaster who headbutts the wall faster than a lottery winner who's lost his ticket. Ouch. But fair enough, the promise is a definitive guide to get you sorted. The screenshots are dotted around, showing the intense action, lap times, and positions, proper gameplay snippets to whet the appetite. Looks like they're ready to help us go from zero to hero on the anti-gravity tracks. Buckle up indeed. This page dives deeper into the anti-gravity madness of Wipeout 64, giving us the lowdown on the different teams and their ships. First up, the different class section introduces the 4 main combatants: Vector, Venom, Rapier, and Phantom, showing their team logos. It's a bit of a progression, isn't it? Vector's the friendly starter ship, Venom ups the speed a bit, Rapier requires knowing the tracks like the back of your hand, and Phantom, well, that's the beast that'll feel like you're trying to tame a wild horse while wearing roller skates. Good luck with that one without plenty of practice. Gompenbale. Then we move on to teamwork, showcasing specific ships from various teams like Physar, Ag Systems, Direx, Oricom, and the tricky-to-get Piranha 2. Each ship gets a picture and a rundown of how it handles. They even show these neat bar charts for things like thrust, top speed, turning ability, and shield energy, handy for a quick comparison, though trying to control some of these sounds like a right laugh. Direx apparently handles like a double-decker bus without wheels, which sounds challenging. Piranha 2, unlocked later, looks like the top-tier speedster for setting those blistering lap times. It's a proper breakdown to help you pick your poison before hitting the track. The next page, alright, so you've picked your ship from the last page, yeah? Now you need to know what all those shiny power-ups do in Wipeout 64 to actually crush the weak, as the title proudly proclaims. It gives you the lowdown on the weapons and defense items. You've got the autopilot, handy for getting through those gnarly corners when you're about to explode, but utterly pointless on a straight. Then there's the guided missile, decent for finishing someone off when they're already battered. The lightning bolt locks on, which sounds great until you realize it hasn't got much punch. Mines are your sneaky little friends to drop behind you. Just remember where you put them. The turbo boost is essential for blasting down straights, obviously, but trying to use it round a bend is just asking for trouble. The triple missile? Well, you've got 3, but you'll need to aim the blighters yourself, no guidance here. And of course your shield to soak up damage, and the shield energy to top it up when you're looking a bit worse for wear. It's a good little guide to make sure you're not wasting your power-ups at the wrong moment. And look at that bloke on the right with his futuristic 21st century's earphones. Bless him. The next page, picking up where we left off with the Wipeout 64 power-ups, this page sorts out the rest of the arsenal. It guides you through invisibility for sneaky overtakes, the Quake Wave for clearing corners, use with caution, the Time Bomb for causing chows in a pack, don't waste it on empty track, and the Plasma Bolt for guaranteed direct hits to melt rivals, not for long range or bends though. It's essential reading to make sure you're not wasting your precious weapons on those futuristic tracks. Dontu Dakak. Over on the right you've got a moody shot from Castlevania 64, features one of the lads, looking all dramatic with his purple hair. And check out that quote, "I used to be in Spandau Ballet, you know." Makes you wonder what he gets up to when he's not sorting out Dracula. It's labeled as a pro poster, so probably meant to be ripped out and stuck on your wall next to your Spice Girls posters. This page kicks off with a classic player poster, none other than Michael Owen himself, back in his England kit, ready to smash one in. This is for Michael Owen's World League Soccer, naturally, and there's a little dig there saying, at least he doesn't play for Man United. Cheeky! Definitely one for the bedroom wall, labelled right there as a pro poster. Over on the right you've got a blast of blue sky and clouds, promoting LEGO races. There's a little LEGO head whizzing through the air, and a quote that says, "The excitement is building." Promotes. Get it? LEGO? Building? Alright, steady on with the puns. This page serves up another cracking pro poster, this time featuring the gang from Goemon's Great Adventure. You've got the main man himself, Goemon, looking spiky-haired and ready for action, alongside his portly pal Ebisumaru, the ever-cool Yae, and the slightly unsettling puppet chap, Sukeroku. They're all posed dynamically, weapons at the ready. Up top it clearly states Goemon's Great Adventure, which is absolutely spot on. There's a little quote underneath saying, "Someday Noali hopes his hair will be as cool as Goemon's." Right, well good luck with that, Noali. Goemon's got some serious static going on there. A proper character piece, this one. Perfect for sticking on your wall, next to that Michael Owen poster from the last page. This page brings us another cracking pro poster, this time celebrating the absolute chows that is Vigilante 8. On the left you've got a close-up of some serious machinery, looking all chunky and formidable against a bright blue sky, definitely part of one of the game's iconic vehicles. You can just make out the R logo, probably from Slick Clyde's trusty roadkill bus. Then, over on the right, it's the man himself, Slick Clyde, looking sharp in his cowboy hat and shades, denim vest on, arms crossed, and wielding that rather unusual weapon. Looks like a souped UP golf club, which is just perfect for the ridiculous fun of Vigilante 8. He's got that classic 70s vibe going on, with the tash and goatee combo, and that massive belt buckle. Up top, it confirms it's all about Vigilante 8, and there's a brilliant quote referencing the YMCA song, which is just spot on given Clyde's unique style. A proper character poster this, ready to adorn your wall, and remind you of smashing up vehicles in the desert. This page continues our deep dive into the chowitic world of Vigilante 8, moving on from characters to crucial combat info. On the left, we've got a cracking character poster, this time featuring the rather stylish Sheila. She's looking fierce with her impressive afro, cool outfit, and a weapon in hand, ready to cause some mayhem. The title, Vigilante 8, is right there, along with a quote claiming it's cooler than an Eskimo's fridge freezer. A bold claim, but fitting for the game's attitude. Over on the right side it's the N64 Pro cheat zone, dishing out the tactical lowdown on some of the game's main weapons. We've got the wall, described as difficult but potentially useful if you can trap someone. Then there's the super guided missile, which frankly does exactly what it says on the tin pointed at someone, and off it goes for some serious damage. Finally, the classic machine gun, highlighted as the most destructive force, essential for clearing out groups, or just causing general chows. They even give you little nuggets of wisdom on when to use each one, and more importantly, when not to. All this is accompanied by the distinct in-game icons for each weapon, and a cool render of a vehicle from the game. Essential reading if you wanted to dominate the desert arenas back in the day. This page takes us from the chaotic roads of Vigilante 8 to the futuristic tracks of Wipeout 64, diving straight into some essential general racing strategies. It's labeled up as the cheat zone, but really, it's just good old common sense for anyone wanting to survive this brutal high-speed racer. The page gives you the lowdown on everything from getting a good start off the grid to mastering those tricky corners with your air brakes. Crucial stuff, honestly, if you didn't want to end up in a crumpled mess at the first turn. It stresses knowing your weapons, using those boost pads wisely, especially after a slow corner, and keeping a cool head amongst the mayhem. There's even advice on hitting the pits for repairs and completing those challenge modes by learning the circuits inside out, maybe starting slow before hitting top speed. The screenshots show off the sleek ships and frantic action, and there's this brilliant little alien chap with a speech bubble, absolutely fuming because someone's apparently nicked the wheels off his go-kart. Proper cheeky stuff. The overall vibe is pure Wipeout, fast, frantic, and you've got to be smart to come out on top. Good tips here for anyone who fancied themselves a pilot back then. The next page dives deep into the 7 circuits of Wipeout 64, labeled up nicely as the cheat zone. It tells you straight off that mastering the fastercraft means completing the race challenge, and this section is your secret weapon for getting through the trickiest parts of every track. It points out that while the slower ships are easy, the real challenge is when you're hammering it with the Speed Freak teams. It then breaks down specific tracks like Clysbridge, Doron IV, Sikana, Dyranus, and Michonne 2, giving you pointers on how to handle their unique corners and sections. Things like knowing when to use your air brakes on descending turns, navigating tight tunnels without smashing into the barriers, and tackling tricky hairpins or jump-to-corner sequences are all covered. It's practical advice really, focusing on getting around these courses cleanly, and keeping your speed up, which is absolutely vital in Wipeout. The screenshots show the specific parts of the tracks being discussed, giving you a visual guide to what they're talking about. Definitely handy tips for anyone struggling to nail those perfect laps. This page continues the Wipeout 64 cheat zone, detailing the challenges you need to smash to unlock all the good stuff. Forget just racing. You've got to conquer the race challenge and the time trial challenge if you want access to the Piranha 2 team, the Velocitar circuit, Cyclone weapon technology, and the Super Combo challenge. They say finishing in the top 3 in each race challenge event is key. Doesn't matter if it's gold or bronze, just get on that podium to unlock Velocitar. Then there's the time trial challenge, where you've got to complete all 6 races against the clock. This bit pushes you to the limits apparently, with no weapons to bail you out. Nail all of those, and you'll unlock the Piranha 2 bonus team. There are also specific circuit tips for Terrafumos, highlighting tricky jumps and corners, and the Velocitar track, which is described as a bonus track, with narrow roads and plenty of turbo boosts. Seems like putting in the work on these challenges is essential to seeing everything Wipeout 64 has to offer. This page continues the Wipeout 64 cheat zone, picking up with the weapon challenge and the Super Combo challenge you'll need to conquer after the initial race and time trial hurdles we saw earlier. The weapon challenge is a different kettle of fish entirely. It's all about getting kills on 6 specific circuits like Mission 2, Doron IV, and Clyde's Bridge. You're racing against the clock, sure, but your goal is simply to rack up enough kills for bronze, silver or gold awards on each track. The guide even suggests ditching weaker weapons for better ones, which is a bit counterintuitive for a race, but hey, whatever gets the job done. Your finishing position doesn't matter here, just the kill counts. Jetchi, after you've ground through those, you unlock the Super Combo challenge. This one's the real kicker, demanding you not only finish in the top 3 on circuits like Dyroness and Terrafumos, but also meet a specific kill requirement. It combines skill, luck, and pure firepower, making it the toughest test yet. That little alien chap at the bottom looks like he's signing off on the Wipeout cheats, declaring that's all the info you need. The rest of the page is mostly filled with ads for consoles, figures, and imported games. California Speed receives a devastating review, earning a 20% score and 2 penalty points. Reviewers describe the game as an absolute shambles, citing appalling graphics, ropey gameplay, and terrible steering. The reviewer, Mark, suggests players would have more fun at a funeral. Graphics, sound, gameplay, and longevity scores are all disastrous. The review highlights numerous negative comments from other reviewers and readers, with suggestions to play alternative racing games instead. Even the varied Californian locations, such as San Diego and Yosemite, can't redeem the game's poor performance. This page dives headfirst into the baffling world of American sports with a review of Triple Play 2000. The headline sets the tone nicely, questioning if it's a big hitter or a toilet sitter, and lamenting the lack of a chip butty. Mark is back on review duty, and he's not overly impressed, slapping a 62% score on it. He reckons it tries for homers but often gets caught out, finding the graphics bland and the animation jerky. He particularly calls out the wildly swinging gameplay pace, and the utterly comical running. Apparently the menus are slow as well. Mark sniffily suggests you'd be much better off with All-Star Baseball instead, which is strutting its stuff. The breakdown scores reflect this, with only sound getting a decent 8/10, while graphics, gameplay, and lastability hover between 5 and 6. Other opinions aren't much kinder. Lewis finds it slow. Paul thinks it's merely the second best baseball game this issue. High praise indeed. And Noelle questions the very existence of N64 baseball games. There's also a look at the player creation feature, where you can craft your digital self, apparently with incredible sporting ability, and a little alien head offering batting tips. Overall, the consensus seems to be that this one's best left warming the bench. This page is a classic mail-order advert for the mighty buy-sell exchange, or SEX as they're known. It's plastered with screenshots of absolute cracking games like GoldenEye, Mario 64, Diddy Kong Racing, and Banjo-Kazooie, showing off the variety they've got on offer. They're shouting about being #1 for mail order, ready to swap your old games for new ones, offering cash or exchange value. They claim to beat any advertised price and promise next-day delivery on new releases. A bold claim back then. Lines are open 7 days a week, which is pretty dedicated. There are lists of new and second-hand games across various genres, like shoot-'em-ups, platformers, sports, racing, and RPG/adventure, alongside consoles and accessories. Don't even get me started on the prices, they're all there if you fancy a gander, plus a mention of Game Boy Color and other bits and bobs like keyrings. They finish up by mentioning free delivery on orders over a certain amount, and a physical address in London. It's essentially a call to action. If you can't find what you want, call us. A proper treasure trove for any N64 enthusiast looking to add to their collection. This page is a proper jam-packed affair, kicking off the Pro Crew Zone, which is essentially where all the magazine's regular features live. We've got everything from readers' reviews where you lot get to sound off, to Britain's top gamers. Bless 'em. Apparently the ugliest too. There's a swap shop for trading your old carts, and a look at back issues if you missed out on previous nuggets of wisdom. Plus, a tease for next month, always leaving you wanting more. But the real meat here is the hefty Glover Tips' Handy Guide Part 3. Blimey, they're saying you've worn your fingernails down, already trying to complete the guide so far. This part dives into the prehistoric level 2, giving you the lowdown on how to navigate the lava, dodge pesky Trexes, and generally keep that bouncy ball under control. They show you key spots with screenshots, essential stuff for getting through that tricky level. There's a bit of banter between the characters too, always good for a chuckle. It's clearly a comprehensive walkthrough, the kind that saved many a gamer back in the day. The next page is a proper deep dive continuation of that Glover walkthrough we started last time. They're really laying it all out here, bless 'em. We've got maps and step-by-step guides for prehistoric level 2 and jumping right into level 3 as well. JD. It's crammed with details on how to handle that bouncy ball, activate switches, and deal with the local wildlife like those pesky Tracies and Dibbers. The maps show you where to go and what to look for, which is absolutely vital when you're knee-deep in lava or dodging boulders. There's even a handy key explaining all the little icons on the maps. Very helpful. Plus, they've thrown in a secret section giving you tips on speedrunning and finding hidden garibs and extra lives. Can't complain about extra lives, can you? It's the kind of comprehensive guide that saved many a gamepad from being hurled across the room in frustration. And look, the old wizard character is having a laugh, claiming he's got nothing up his sleeves. Classic. This walkthrough looks solid, covering all the tricky bits to get you through these prehistoric nightmares. This page is a proper deep dive continuation of that Glover walkthrough we started last time. They're really laying it all out here, giving us the full lowdown on Fortress Level 1 and pushing right into Level 2. It's packed with step-by-step instructions for navigating the levels, dealing with enemies like Fumble the Mummy, and solving those environmental puzzles, like getting through the portcullis in Level 2. They haven't skimped on the secrets either, showing you where all those hidden garibs and extra lives are hiding. Plus, there's a whole section dedicated to taking down the prehistoric boss, that fiery dinosaur cross-stitch. Sounds like you'll be dodging fireballs and using the ball to cool him down, a classic boss mechanic. Visually, we get some helpful screenshots, a map of Fortress Level 1, and some great character art, including that grumpy dinosaur throwing shade, and a rather cool-looking alien hanging out with Glover's glove. And look, they're teasing the final boss fight for next month. This is the kind of guide that saves you hours of frustrating trial and error. This cheat zone page provides various cheats for popular N64 games. Castlevania cheats include money tricks, secret unlocks, and costume access. Micro Machines 64 turbo cheats offer turbo boosts, camera manipulation, and car transformations. Beetle Adventure Racing cheats cover unlocking vehicles and accessing cheat menus. Rally 99 cheats allow quick access to all modes and cars. FIFA 99 cheats reveal goal methods and a hidden team. A N64 controller diagram is also included, alongside game screenshots. This in-depth guide to Zelda, Ocarina of Time acts as a comprehensive walkthrough. It details how to find all golden sculptures, including locations for both young and adult Link, and methods like nighttime hunting and using tools. Heartpiece locations are also meticulously mapped for both versions of Link. Beyond gameplay, it features sections on playing custom ocarina tunes, including fan-made pieces like Simpsons and Star Wars themes. The guide also includes a TipX helpline, inviting user contributions and offering a membership for noteworthy tips. All presented with classic Zelda artwork. This page kicks off with the business of Britain's top gamers, which, as they rightly point out, is quickly turning into Europe's top gamers, with entries coming from further afield. This is where the real competition is, proving you're the best at the games we all love. They're covering a cracking spread here, from the slippery slopes of 1080 snowboarding and the chaotic fun of Diddy Kong racing, to the precise handling needed in Wave Race 64 and Face Vero X. We've also got the essential GoldenEye times and accuracy stats, Banjo-Kazooie speedruns, and even competitive scores from Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time like the horse race and archery. The Pro Arena section is brilliant, setting specific challenges from readers and the N64 Pro team for you to pit your skills against. Think you're quick on Crystal Lake in 1080, or can nail a perfect GoldenEye facility run. Prove it. They've also got the Gamers Gallery, showing the faces of these top players, including the well-deserved Gamer of the Month. If you fancy your chances and want to see your name and face in print, there's a clear guide on how to submit your own gaming triumphs. Get stuck in! This page jumps into the vital service of connecting N64 players with the all-important swap shop. If you're bored stiff of your current collection, this is where you offload that dusty old cart and snag something fresh. It's not just N64 stuff either, folks are trading all sorts. Right next door is the shoutout section, perfect for sending a cheeky message to a mate or finding a fellow gamer pen pal. There are lists for the wanted and not wanted games, showing what everyone's desperate for. South Park 64 and Ocarina of Time it seems. And what's gathering dust? Poor old Diddy Kong Racing is on the outs. You've also got the Swap of the Month and Blag of the Month, highlighting some top deals. All illustrated with a cheerful bunch of Yoshis and a rather excited looking Toad. It's basically the N64 community's very own trading post and notice board. This page is the sign-up form for the Pro Crew. Pay £28 to get the magazine early, bonus stuff and a free t-shirt. Plus, direct debit users could win a steering wheel. This issue's You Reckon section features reader letters about the magazine, including praise for the N64 Pro and Mario Party review. Richard praises the magazine, and Darren suggests expanding the letters section. Guy Adams wins Letter of the Month with a quick, well-written letter. Craig Syme speculates on Nintendo's next console, and Chris Rudd reviews the South Park game, noting better multiplayer than GoldenEye. The diverse opinions show passionate readership interest in N64 gaming. The magazine features reader letters discussing South Park multiplayer and a desired cricket game for the N64. A reader's gallery showcases fan arts, including Mario, Banjo-Kazooie, and South Park characters. The back issues section offers a selection of classic and popular titles, like Zelda, Banjo-Kazooie, and South Park 64, for £4 each. Guides and cheat books are sometimes bundled. A reader order form is included. Reader reviews for N64 classics are overwhelmingly positive. Mario Kart 64 is lauded as a great multiplayer game, though one found it frustrating. Blast Corps receives mixed reactions, with some praising its unique gameplay and others criticizing the graphics. GoldenEye 007 is deemed the best game ever by readers, highlighting its visuals, sound, and multiplayer. South Park 64's multiplayer is praised, but one reader found the single-player repetitive. Rally Edition is praised as a brilliant racing game, though noted as difficult to master. This page continues the reader reviews, and crikey, what a lineup. First up, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and if you thought the last lot were impressed, the readers here are absolutely blown away. It's hailed as the best game ever made, a masterpiece, revolutionary, you name it. Everyone agrees it's massive and incredible, truly something special on the N64. Then there's the wonderfully bonkers Silicon Valley, where you play as animals. Readers found its quirky premise and puzzle gameplay brilliant and unique, definitely a puzzler and a good laugh. Now for a bit of controversy. Mortal Kombat Mythologies. While the magazine review calls it the singularly worst game they've ever played, the readers largely echo that sentiment, finding it pretty shocking. Definitely not a highlight of the N64 library it seems. Rounding out the reviews is Wave Race 64, which readers praised for its stunning water physics and fun, challenging gameplay. It sounds like it really made a splash when it landed. Ha! Finally, 64 Pro is looking for your reviews, asking readers to send in their thoughts on 64 games. Looks like Simon Churchill from Northumberland won a prize for his Zelda review. Well done, Simon. Gamer Nation showcases Game Boy Color games. Previews highlight All-Star Tennis 99, featuring realistic gameplay, the Rugrats movie, a colorful platformer, Harvest Moon, a charming addictive farming sim, and Hexite, a Tetris-like puzzler. Reviews praise the visual appeal of the Rugrats movie and the addictive nature of Harvest Moon and Hexite. News also includes collaborations for new GBC titles, including games based on Mission, Impossible, Asterix, and more. The N64 Pro database, aiming to catalog every N64 game, reviews various titles. Shooting games like Lilat Wars, 91%, GoldenEye 007, 96%, Saw Thumb Award, and Turok 2, 94%, receive high scores. Other entries, like Doom 64, 71%, Quake 64, 85%, and Duke Nukem, 80%, fare less spectacularly, while some, like Aerofighters Assault, 58%, and Knife Edge, 52%, are criticized. Racing games, Ferrari F40 and 1080 degrees snowboarding, are also covered, with mixed results. A humorous image of a character, perhaps Lando Calrissian, adds a touch of nostalgia. This page continues the buyer's guide, packed with reviews for a whole raft of N64 racing games. It's quite the mixed bag here, from the absolute classics like F1 World Grand Prix hitting a phenomenal 94% and earning a sore thumb award, down to the likes of Cruisin' USA, which limps in at a rather sad 41%. You've got everything from realistic F1 sims and rally races to arcade street blasts, futuristic speedsters like Extreme G, and even the beloved kart racing giants, Mario Kart 64 and Diddy Kong Racing, both bagging sore thumb awards with stellar 91% scores. Wave Race also makes a splash, with a 91% sore thumb win. There are plenty of other solid races in the 80s, a few duds in the middle, and a couple more disappointing efforts. Switching gears at the bottom, we dip into the fighting genre, briefly covering Mortal Kombat 4 with a respectable 85%, but contrasting sharply with the platform fighter hybrid Big Girl's Blouse, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, which gets utterly pummeled with a mere 28%. Finally, the page wraps up with Biofreaks, a somewhat messy but bloody fighter, scoring 82%. It really is a comprehensive look at what the N64 had to offer, on the track and in the arena. The N64 Buyer's Guide reviews various genres. Fighting games like Clay Fighter and Duel Heroes receive poor scores, while Fighter's Destiny and Smash Bros earn high marks. Puzzle games excel, with Wii Tricks, Bust-A-Move, and Space Station, Silicon Valley earning high praise. Platformers like Banjo-Kazooie, a top performer, are also highlighted, along with some solid entries like Bomberman Hero and Castlevania. This page of the N64 Buyer's Guide highlights the top N64 games, starting with the Hall of Fame's top 10, topped by Zelda. Platformers like Banjo-Kazooie and Gex, 2D action like Yoshi's Story and Mischief Makers, and the iconic Super Mario 64 are also featured. Sports games are extensively covered, praising FIFA 99, Konami's ISS 98, and NBA Hangtime/Blitz. Madden 99 is noted for American football, while baseball and tennis games are also reviewed, evaluating their graphical improvements and simulation aspects. This page continues the buyer's guide, kicking off with more sports titles like NHL Breakaway and WWF Warzone, which got decent reviews, showing wrestling was quite popular on the N64, though WCW Nitro didn't fare so well. Then we dive into Miscellaneous, a real grab bag of games. You've got the wonderfully weird Mystical Ninja, the absolute masterpiece that is Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Seriously, if you only play one game, make it this one. It got a cracking 98% and a sore thumb award. Mario Party is here too, brilliant chow-tatic fun with mates. Pilotwings scored high as well, another sore thumb winner. Some of the others, like Rampage, didn't get much love, but Blast Corps is rightly praised for its sheer destructive fun. There's even a chap getting ribbed about his hairline. Classic N64 Pro, Beruchi. Moving on to RPG/adventure, Zelda pops up again, because why not? And Mission Impossible gets a surprisingly high score, noted for being a challenging puzzle-based affair rather than just a shooter. Finally, the import section covers a load of Japanese games, a bit of a mixed bag really, and you needed a converter to play them back then. Some, like Famista Baseball, were great, while others clearly didn't travel well. A moody bunch indeed. This page kicks off with a tease for next month, featuring none other than the main man, Duke Nukem, and a killer review of 0 Hour. Looks like he's got a bone to pick with anyone sending in sad requests. Classic Duke sass. You'll be able to get your hands on issue 22 on May 27th. There's a brief look at the staff who put the magazine together. Then we jump into some hot Jap news. Everything you could possibly want to know apparently. Following that, a blueprint feature on Star Wars racers gets us hyped for what they're calling the game of the century. Ambitious, eh? The ever-useful cheat zone is here, for those who need a little nudge, and there's a guide promised for the chowtic fun of micro machines. Finally, there's a massive advert for Special Reserve, showing off loads of N64, Game Boy, and PlayStation games and accessories with discounts, a club membership offer, and details on their shops. Loads of gear listed if you were looking to pick up some new plastic. This page is the big one, the front cover itself. Right here is issue 21 of N64 Pro, from May 1999. It's proudly proclaiming itself the world's buggiest N64 mag, naturally tying in with the feature on A Bug's Life, which is apparently the most buzzing game on the planet, and a world exclusive. Jumping onto N64, Looks like the little ant chat flick is front and center. Up top, they're hyping a complete Wipeout 64 guide and a feature on Star Wars. Big stuff. There's also a blagger's guide to South Park promising hints, tips, codes, and butt-kicking cheats, which sounds exactly like what you'd expect from those foul-mouthed kids. On the left side, they're showcasing Micro Machines 64 Turbo, linking back to that guide promised on the previous page. It looks like manic mayhem with up to 8 players on one screen, tearing through household environments. Proper Chowtic fun. They've slapped some pretty decent scores on it too, raving about its genius and being simply superb. Down the bottom they list a bunch of other games they've played to death, including Mystical Ninja 2, All-Star Baseball 2000, Edge Snowboarding, Triple Play Baseball, and California Speed. All in all, a packed issue teasing some big reviews and guides. This page continues the A Bug's Life theme with Hopper threatening Flick. The main section focuses on N64 game reviews, highlighting Mystical Ninja 2, Twisted Edge Snowboarding, and California Speed. Wipeout 64 and Glover are also featured. The page also boasts 6 large posters, including Michael Owen, chibi characters, a Lego vehicle, and characters from Castlevania 64 and Vigilante 8. Readers can also enter a competition for Alton Towers tickets and a Turok 2 handheld console. The page is visually packed with promotional material. Jabba.